What's going on? I'm currently leaving Norman, Oklahoma, driving to Spiro, Oklahoma, which is about 3.5 hours away, for a town hall meeting where Dr. Tom Coburn is going to be there. So we're trying to get Coburn to release his hold. On the road, been on the road about an hour now, headed out to Spiro. Be there in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Okay, here we are in Spiro. That building is the Spiro Council Chambers. So that is where we will be meeting with Coburn here in a few minutes.
Yes, that's fine.
You got to be a registered Democrat or something?
This is Little Dixie.
I would like to introduce Dr. Coburn. To date, Dr. Coburn has delivered more than 4,000 babies. Please join me in introducing and welcoming our U.S. Senator, Dr. Tom Coburn. Thank you.
So, what we really need is a tough knucklehead that will take on Congress, and then if Congress doesn't respond to downsizing the size and scope of the federal government and its inefficiency, go to the American public and make their case. And they will win, because the American people have common sense and Congress doesn't. Yes, sir.
My name is Mark, and I just graduated from OU in last May. And I found out this morning you were going to be here and drove all the way from Norman, so I just wanted to tell one or 2 minutes of why.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Why I came all the way out. I'm 23, journalism graduate from OU, so I totally agree with what you said about the journalism today. It's ridiculous.
It's not what you were taught.
No. It's constantly changing, and exactly not what we were taught. But I want to briefly share just a little bit of why I drove 3 hours all the way out here. I'm from Norman. My father's a pastor in Norman, and in high school I was the president of my Young Republicans Club, and very supportive of what you're doing to secure my generation's future. Because as you're saying, putting the tax on our grandkids, that's me. That's people my age. I just want to give a little feel for something that my generation is believing very strongly in right now. I know you probably know the issue I'm going to bring up, but I just want to bring.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I know it well.
And I want to explain to the people here. When I was 19, I saw a video. I'd never left the U.S. before. I saw a video at OU called "Invisible Children" about this rebel leader in northern Uganda in East Africa that for about 25 years has been kidnapping children and forcing them to fight as soldiers in his rebel group. This has been going on for like 4 different presidential terms. And I get involved in this movement, and I saw hundreds of thousands of American youth and adults and thousands of American Oklahomans get involved. I've usually led the Oklahoma movement. I've met with Craig Smith, your assistant, 2 times personally. So I'm very honored to actually get a chance to personally meet with you, because I've never had the opportunity to. And also, just to bring everyone up to speed, there's a bill right now in the Senate called the LRA Disarmament and Northern Uganda Recovery Act that is aiming to end this war in Uganda and bring about aid to help the redevelopment of the area, and also the counseling for the former kids that were child soldiers in this area. As I said, when I saw this in 2008, I'd never even left the U.S. before by 2008. I've been to Africa 5 times in the last year and a half. Just a month ago, I actually got malaria in Kenya, and so
You weren't taking your prophylactics, were you?
Well, it's a long story,
Yeah,
but I did take it when I was there. But it doesn't completely protect you. But long story short, having had malaria, 104-degree temperature, if I was in a village, I probably would have died. Knowing that the people in these villages, they're suffering through things we as Americans can't even imagine. Add on to that someone who's kidnapping children, 10-year-olds, forcing them to carry machine guns and kill their parents. So there's a bill in the Senate right now that roughly the entire Senate is behind passing, and not the entire Senate. Yeah. But as you're aware, Senator Coburn has a hold on the bill because of an offset, because of where the money's coming from. And I totally understand your position on this. I just also want to ask, from this point of view, how many senators are supporting this bill? And we've done some research and seen that there's been other bills. I know you supported one for about $50 million in Congo that that did not have an offset.
Oh, yeah, no, I've never supported a bill that did not have an offset.
Then, well, and my question though is, it's bills sometimes that you've had the same opportunity to hold, but you have not. And I'm wondering if there is any chance you would consider releasing this hold,
No.
because there are millions of Americans wanting this bill to pass for Uganda.
I do too. How much money do we send to the United Nations every year?
I don't know the number.
$9.5 billion. How much of it's wasted? Not all of it, but about $6 billion.
Could I interrupt? How does it, I want to ask you a question. How does a young man like you feel there?
My father's a pastor. My parents have paid none of it. I had scholarships that I received at OU, scholarships that were above and beyond what I needed, plus fundraising from churches and
Where do those come from?
so the scholarships.
Yeah.
Some through OU, some through outside journalism organizations. There's a Gridiron Foundation, and my own personal money that I worked doing yard work to save up.
Hey, I think it's great that he did it, and I think it's really important that you're involved in it. But let's use an example. This is obviously a worthy cause, isn't it? What was our deficit last year?
I don't have the numbers.
$1.6 trillion. What's it going to be this year? $1.8 trillion. My whole point on this is make a choice. Is there not something in the State Department that's less important than this? And what you have is the senators who say, oh, we don't want to get into that battle because now we have to start making hard choices. They don't want to make hard choices. They just want to pass it and spend the money and charge it to our kids. And I'm saying what we have, 10 years ago, we didn't have this kind of deficit. We had maybe 150 billion, 120 billion. We didn't have deficits that were running at, 15 to 20% of our GDP.
Right.
It is time for us to draw a line in the sand, no matter how good the cause, and pay for the things we want to do that are good by getting rid of the things that don't work. And so there's a good case. I just talked, what was his name, Jeff, that I just talked to on the phone from California on this? The one, Tyler. Michael. Just talk with him. I'm supportive. We've got an answer to it.
What's the answer?
The answer is make it come out of the funds that the State Department has.
So your proposal for an offset is from the State Department?
Yeah, well, it's going to be managed through the State Department. The State Department, we've done reports, the State Department it wastes at least $3 billion a year. Why wouldn't we take some? How much is this bill?
40 million.
40 million, and we're wasting $3 billion, and they don't want to take any of that money to do something good? So where does it stop? Here's the question is, you want to do something good? Everybody here would agree that that's probably something we ought to be doing. But do we just ignore what's going on and let the country go down the drain, or instead force the politician? Now they can pass this anytime they want. All they got to do is bring it to the floor, have 60 votes to override my objection, and pass it. So I'm not holding it up. And every time I hold a bill, I tell people why I'm holding it. And the fact is they're chickens. Because they don't have the guts to make hard choices.
Who's they being?
Jim Inhofe on this case, Russ Feingold, they refuse to make the hard choices to do what is necessary to get our country out of the big problem. How do we help people if we're bankrupt? And so the point is, I'm for doing this, but I'm not for charging it to my grandkids.
What's the specific offset you are recommending that they're objecting to?
It's a generalized offset. All you have to do is say, this will be paid for from existing funds appropriated to the State Department. That allows the State Department to take it from whatever they want.
And what are you hearing from their side as to why they're not wanting to?
Well, they don't want to. They don't want to start down this path of being fiscally responsible.
They're not offering any other offset options.
No, they don't want it offset. Let me give you another example. What was the veterans bill that we?
I don't remember.
The veterans bill where we're helping the Iraqi veterans and Afghanistan veterans. And I wouldn't let that bill go through because we're not paying for it. And we also are treating those veterans different than we treated the Gulf War and the Vietnam veterans and everything else.
Amen.
And so what happened is everybody came after me and I said, pay for it. If this is something we owe our veterans, pay for it. Cut some spending somewhere else. But the point is if we rationalize that this good is worth us undermining the principles that will get us safe in the long run, you're kidding yourself.